Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome to this week's episode of Steelers Touch Down Under. I'm Matty Peverell with Marky Davison, as always. How you going, mate?
Man, I'm doing pretty well, mate. The sun's out here in Australia. It's like 8 a.m. Was it? No, sorry, 9 a.m. We're recording, so doing very well. I haven't got any cities to shout out today, so couldn't think of any. But g'day, Alan. How's it going?
You don't have any cities to shout out. What do you mean? I'm gonna shout out
who?
all Steeler fans on the West Coast.
On the West Coast.
In the West Coast, because the last time I was in the US, I mean, kind of every trip I end up having to go because Australia, you kind of always fly direct to the West Coast. But there's actually a lot of Steeler fans there. We know that from the different games. We know that from like the games they've played against teams like the Chargers and the LA Rams and anything on the West Coast, 49ers, like any Steeler fan on the West Coast, big shout out to you. And you know what's funny is after your shout out on the podcast the other day, I had someone contact me on Twitter.
Really?
On my phone, I'd pull up his name, and he was like, "Hey Matt," he was like, "Hey Matt." At Matt Pev, which is my Twitter handle, is like, and feel free to tweet me any of the listeners. He was basically like, "Thanks for the shout out. I'm a BTSC listener and Steeler fan in Tampa Bay." It was great.
Is that what I said? Tampa Bay? Is that what I said?
Yeah, you said Tampa Bay.
Oh, okay. See, it works. There you go. It's everyone, and also
I feel like you had a scheme with this bloke, but anyway, it's fine.
All right. Who else can we shout out then? Maybe. Or what about
shout
Alaska?
out anyone born in the month of December? It's December.
Well, that's me, mate, coming up in 2024.
And then I'm wearing the Minka today. So what about anyone who's 39 years old?
Jeez. We could just keep giving shout outs and everyone's like, it feels pretty good.
Yeah,
that does feel good, right?
Feels good.
So,
share the love a little bit.
But it is, you know what though? Like, we're in the same scenario. I guess we've been in here now 3 times, right? Oh, no, wait. Yeah, 3 times. Because we have to back it up, right? So, I don't know about you, but I'm hyped but nervous again.
Well, that's a good segue into the injury report. And as you said before we went on air, like, it just continues to get really different. I don't understand, right? And I say this, I know I complain about this every week. I feel a bit, I will get over it. I promise, Steelers fans and listeners. But we have, I don't know, on this list, it looks like, I don't know, something like 14, 15 names or whatever it is, just quickly citing it. One person's out in a Keller with a spoon. I think we all expect that with hamstring. I also kind of, having had a lot of players on fantasy this year that have had hamstring injuries, go me. I feel like there should be almost a different designation with those guys because they're always on the report, unlike then they don't play. Like, it's kind of like you may as well put them on IR. But there's such a difficult injury because you can feel good for a couple of days and then you feel tightness. You got to pull it back because you don't want to tear. Really difficult. But going back to the overall injury report, we got one player out in the killer with a spoon, 2 questionable in TJ Watt and Jalen Warren. I think it's interesting with TJ with the ribs too, and particularly if that's the same side as his pec. I don't know. I haven't seen anything specified on terms of which side those ribs are. And considering it is the Falcons, I wouldn't be surprised if they looked at either at least very much managing his snaps or whether they even thought about leaving him out to give him a break before Baltimore. But Jalen Warren's also questionable, which, as you said before we went on air, is interesting given Najee Harris didn't practice Wednesday, Thursday, was limited on Friday. But going back to the overall status, we've got one person out in a killer with a spoon. We've got Watt and Warren questionable, and everyone else is not specified or not listed. Now, I don't understand. You're either like there's literally the game status is out, doubtful, questionable, and obviously when this goes to air, a lot of these decisions will have been made. And practice status is did not practice, limited practice, full practice, not listed. There's enough, but the game status also has not listed. So there's enough designations to come up with one. Why is it not listed? It's very frustrating.
I got a question for you. What's the overall purpose for the Pittsburgh Steelers releasing this injury report? Is it for the fans or is it for who's it for?
Well, I think this is that NFL piece where they've been fined previously for not listing the right people, and it's just.
Well, what I'm saying is like there's no real overall information. It says ribs, right, but it doesn't say anything. It says it could say pasta next to it too, ribs and pasta. It doesn't say anything, right? It just says ribs. Like, it doesn't. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, It just says ribs or it says foot. It doesn't really
I mean, you don't want to over-advertise it. I mean, it's not as bad as the NHL. The NHL, you can just say they have a head injury. They might have the fractured cheekbone. They might have although I think they have to label concussion. But I know that it's general area in the NHL. And I get not wanting to advertise where someone's got an injury, but
I get a feeling it's for the fans a little bit, but they're not giving a lot of information. It's like, oh, here it is. TJ's got a foot. Okay.
Well, you know what? Minka has a rib injury as well. Maybe he and TJ are still bloated after like a Wednesday rib night. Because they both got ribs. They're both the leaders on the defense. They're both playing well. Maybe the team had to shout them ribs for like making a difference on defense. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It's something that it's intriguing that I've just paid attention to this year, and it's like, well, they have an injury because even Spillane's in there too, right? Well, but they don't really go into it too much too. So Benny Snell's in their knee. What does that mean? That doesn't really mean too much to me. I don't know. Long as they're playing.
Personal matter. Like, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, that's what it is. But the Atlanta Falcons, on the other hand, and remember, this is the same franchise that struggles to organize not the Falcons, but the Steelers organization struggles to organize a press conference properly. But Atlanta Falcons, Arnold Ebiketie, their linebacker, was in the draft class this year. Quite an exciting player. He's questionable. Chuma Edoga, their offensive tackle, new name for me, but he's questionable. Jalen Dalton, defensive tackle, questionable. Cordell Patterson did not practice Wednesday, was not listed Thursday, was not listed Friday. His game status is not listed, but it says it's not injury related. He's resting. So, okay. Like, well, but the Steelers seems like they've always got 10 to 15 names on the roster, not on the roster, but on the injury report, and we never know what's going on. But I'll stop complaining about it. But
I think the
by
big
the time
one
this goes to air, it'll just be whether is TJ playing or not. And
yes,
Warren will see. I liked what I saw out of McFarland last week, so I'm not.
Oh yeah, McFarland was pretty fun to watch, and so was Benny Snell. But I think the big one for me in that list of the injury list is that Killer Witherspoon's been on that for like weeks and weeks and weeks, and they still haven't put him on IR. That's kind of like what's going on.
Mate, I looked at his contract the other day. People are like, "Oh, you can't cut him." You can. I don't. Well, if I was Omar Khan in the off season, he's probably a guy that's bye-bye.
So why would they?
I think you eat like 2 million but you save like 3.8 million or something. So
why would they not put him on IR to free a spot up for someone else to come in to play?
I don't know.
This is one of those things we.
Well, that's right. Yeah. So you eat 1.4 million in dead cap, but you save 4 million. So I think he's gone next year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's not a huge loss, really.
Well, maybe think about this though. William Jackson III, you can cut right as well, who's on IR, and save 12.75 million. Think about the type of cornerback we could get for 16 million a year. Right,
a good one.
A good one. That's like your JC Jackson, Dante Jackson, that we talked about last year. Like that's a good cornerback. Maybe it's even two, or maybe it's an offensive lineman and a good cornerback. Like. It's Keith Terrell and it's a good cornerback. Like so, yeah.
Is that why they got Jackson then, and then maybe Witherspoon might be out the door, possibly?
But Witherspoon's not the one on IR. That's the funny thing.
Yeah.
The good thing is, I mean, why you don't put him on IR is because you've got William Jackson there on IR, and you want to make roster moves. And I'm sure Dave Schofield will come from a different point of view. But at least you've got two cornerback options if you manage to get into the playoff hunt. And you've got two guys coming back.
Oh, the scary thing for me with
Witherspoon. Well, we'll get there.
I'm joking.
But the scary thing for me with Witherspoon is we talk. It's been talked about before on BTSC and by other NFL pundits. Like every time Kello Witherspoon looks to be like a number one or number two cornerback and has to tackle a lot and play heaps of snaps, he gets injured. And I just you can't keep this guy on the roster. You just can't keep him on the roster. So
fair call, mate.
And g'day to everyone in the live chat too. We kind of kicked off and got 10 minutes of the show without that. So Sean Manahan, Brian Brown, Kathy Forred, Michael O'Malley, Great 103. Welcome. Sorry if I missed anyone. But let's crack into it. Obviously, talked there about the injury report. Talked a little bit about Kello Witherspoon. Win over the Colts. Mark, anything you wanted to sort of some thoughts, debrief you wanted to have? Because we didn't get to talk about it.
Kenny's playing better. Kenny's not a bust.
Can I just pull that one up? You got me on a point of contention with me. I'm sick of hearing Kenny's a bust, man.
What people are saying it, dude, because he can't throw long, he can't score TDs. But I thought it was one of his best games.
What about throw long? Don't watch the combine. Did you watch anything from Pitt?
Hey man, I think he played really well.
Do you think the thing that I don't understand? Do you think a franchise like the Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna not want to bring Big Ben back and bring in a quarterback that can't throw it 40 or 50 yards or 60 yards? Really? Like, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers here. It's not the Browns, all the clowns. You know, it's not.
But it's
the previous Lions regime. Like, it's daft. You know what? I said this I said this on War Room last week, and then I'll shut up. It's like people on one hand go, Kenny Pickett can't throw the football like more than 30 yards. And then they sit there when it's a 30-yard throw and he overthrows it. Oh, Kenny Pickett always overthrows everyone. So can he throw it more than 30 yards? I think he can because he overthrew the receiver. Yes. Doesn't make sense, man.
No, yes. It's every week, though. It's when we lose, it's easier to be a lot, negative, stuff like that. And I've given, Matt Canada some flack, but he's been calling some good games. And after the bye, right, think about this. After the bye right now, where it's more like Kenny's team, okay, he's taking control. The Steelers are 2-1. They lost to the Bengals, and they had a chance to possibly win that game in the second half. They fell to pieces, right? Matt Canada's offense, I think, is scoring 20 points per game, 24 points average, I think, or something like that, or about 20 plus. Right, they won 2 games, and they lost to the Bengals. Now, it's not too bad after the bye, 2-1. They're in this point where, like I was telling you off air, if you want them to tank, it's almost hard to make them want to tank now because you have 10 teams below them, and now you have 21 teams above them. So if you want to cheer them to tank, you have to see them lose the rest of their games. But they're playing well enough where they won't do that. And it's at the point where if you win this game, the Chiefs lose and the Jets lose, you're 2 games away from 6th and 7th because the Patriots lost the other day. So we catch up to them. Now, they might hold the overall tiebreaker, but there's still 6 games to go. So, and if the Ravens lose, which they probably won't, but if they do, then we're 2 games back.
I don't know, man. They're not.
Well, Lamar Jackson could be out too because he had an injury pull up as well, right? But what I'm saying is, and you said off air too, we actually said a lot of stuff off air. Go and check out that podcast, which you can't. But
we should do that. Like remember that back in the day in Australia, they had like Big Brother Uncut. We should do like Touchdown Under Uncut.
I would be fired in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't be allowed to say anything.
The language. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, look, you're in this point where if you win this game versus the Falcons, but I think it's a winnable game, back to back. Kenny's playing a lot better, and we're back in the hunt. You win this game, then it's a big game versus Ravens at home, and people are still counting us out, right? So they're getting better. Now they're not the best team, right? Then they're a bad football team, but they're getting so much better. And after the bye, it's been awesome to see the running games picked up. Who would have thought Snell would get 12 carries and 60 plus yards and a TD?
You look good, man.
He looked fantastic, dude. Like he looked like.
You know what he shows? He and Warren both show that, like, and I know he's more the Najee Harris style running back, but like what they show is that it's all about the holes the offensive line creates. It's about the plays that you call. It's about running backs being willing to know their limitations. So like. The thing with Benny Snell that I do like about him is he knows that he can't run to the outside. He's not that type of player. He needs to run through the middle, and I think that's what I liked about this game against the Colts. Like I heard one narrative of the Steelers played well. I heard this from one of the NFL shows this week. The Steelers played well, but don't be disillusioned. The Colts are a really bad team, so the Steelers played well against a really bad team. But I was sort of like, well, hang on. The criticism's been, can you put it together? You can only beat the opponent you play on the day.
Exactly.
And then at the same time, people are saying, oh, the Bengals are back. This is the record they had last year when they went on the run. It's like, well, this Steelers team only lost by a touchdown. Like, I think people got to be hopeful, man. The team has gone on longer runs than what they need right now to make the playoffs, finish, or even finish with a positive season, or just finish with like 8 wins.
Answer this, right? They're definitely are the Steelers playing better, but after the bye than before, as a whole.
Pardon? What's
are
that?
the Steelers playing better than they were before the bye? Like the points are up. The Matt Canada offense is working.
I feel. Do you know what though? The difference. Even if someone thinks Kenny Pickett's a bust, you got to sit there and say it is more fun, or you can at least digest watching the Steelers offense more than now. Like you can digest it more easily now than what you could in like the first few weeks with Mitch Trubisky.
I love this logic. JJ52. Colts beat the Chiefs. Steelers beat the Colts. Steelers the best team. I agree. Why not? Hey man, look, it's crazy. I'm
telling you, as I said, like on the show that where you were off winning medals for pickleball with Shannon White, if the Steelers can get into that Browns game, for those on the audio side, Mark's just showing off his medals. But if the Steelers can get into that Browns game 8-8, it's on, man. It's so on.
Like the last game?
Yeah, man.
That'd be a time and a half.
Think about it like this, and then we can go deeper into this matchup, right? Think about this, right? Let's say they get it done. I hate saying any game is easy. I don't think it's easy, but I think the Steelers, if we can figure out Baltimore with Jackson, I think we can figure out Mariota. So I'm interested to see. This is a Devin Bush, Mars Jack. Shut that. I was going to say shut that S word down, but shut that stuff down. We'll be right. But let's say you win against Atlanta, right? And you go 5-7. Well, let's say you beat Baltimore at home. Suddenly you're 6-7. And then you've got Carolina, where you don't have to travel that far, who they know well anyway, because every time they play them in the damn preseason. And then you've got Las Vegas Raiders. You could be like, you could be back to, hang on, so 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, if you beat Vegas Raiders, you're 8-7 going into the Baltimore game at M&T Bank Stadium, man. It can happen, man.
If they can make that Raiders game feel meaningful, it's going to be the best game in a long time. Like, I mean, a long time. It's going to
be meaningful.
Like, so we can, I know can't jump too far ahead, but if they were that record, what you said, 8-7, that'd be fantastic. Imagine that. Imagine doing a whole flip reversal, a few games in a row, Christmas Eve. For us, Christmas Day, having a few.
Oh, so good that it's Christmas Day. I'm already in trouble because I'm going to be late to the family events, but there's no way I'm not watching Christmas Day at home. Oh my God.
I can't wait. I'm going to do everything in the morning for, family stuff, and then say, see you guys. Bye. Catch ya.
100%.
See you tomorrow.
And I know there's a New Jersey coming as well, so I'm like really excited for that one. So
yeah, but like, okay, let's go back a bit though. Anyways,
let's get back to Falcons.
For the Falcons game, right? And the Colts game, everything's improving. Of course, we would have been great to win them against the Bengals, but they can fall. And against the Falcons now, if you can win this game and play some good competitive football, they're running the game well. They averaged last weekend was it 4.5 yards a carry, 38 rushes. They got Oshesky involved. They got Derek Watt involved once. I love how Kenny Pickett can run. I also love the way that Matt Canada opened the offense up and he designed a quarterback draw. Was one of my favorite plays. Dead set. I loved it. Where
I love Kenny's mobility, and I love that he's changing that narrative.
That quarterback draw.
Yeah,
he pushed off his right foot and then went straight there and got 8 yards, and then it was 3rd and 2. I loved it. That was the best play, I think, because I did not expect that at all.
But he extends plays with his feet so much more than people give him credit for. Mm-hmm. Like, it was said earlier in the live chat. We've talked about this in previous weeks. I talked about it on War Room like 3 days before it suddenly became a narrative in the NFL about the Josh Allen versus Kenny Pickett sort of stuff, and like. The thing that I like about Kenny, and sometimes I think it's an oversimplification, Ben was a competitor in a franchise quarterback way I want to compare the two things. But Kenny's like a gamer, right? He just wants to win. Mm-hmm. He doesn't care if he throws 300 yards or 170 yards. Yes, I know he hasn't thrown 300 yards or whatever in the league yet, or he's just thrown just over that against the Bills or whatever it was. But he just he'll do what he needs to do to win. It's not about him racking up stats. It's not about him being the center of attention like a Zach Wilson. That's what I love about Kenny. And so what you're talking about with like he plants his feet here, he scrambles for the 2-point conversions, he runs and takes whatever yardage he can. Like I think, I was thinking back to this game, the Bengals game, a bit of what we saw against the Saints, and you compare that to the Miami game and that last drive, where he threw the interception when he could have run through the gap.
Yeah.
And you think about it and you're like, or even throwing it away. Oh, no, he couldn't actually because it was like 3rd and long and then we were going to be out of it.
Had a chance to win that game.
But he had a chance to win the game. But I feel like the growth, if you compare what he's done in, vital drives in the second half compared to what you saw play by play in that last drive against Miami where he threw the interception, the growth is incredible. Like we're only talking 5 weeks or so, 6 weeks, and 4 games or something. The thing is,
though, if he goes and completes that pass to DJ or he runs to the sideline, then Kenny's a hero. He's not a bust, right? So it's one pass like that. Also, the Jets pass too, where they were winning 24-20, I think it was, and he threw it over Move's head. Now, if he does a better play and doesn't go off his back foot, which he's learning every time, there was some analysts out there that said he doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's starting to pick that up, right? And that pass to GP in the back of the end zone for the 2-point conversion was like, wow, that was an NFL throw. It broke down. His checks to his left wasn't there. He rolled out to the right. GP followed him to the corner, which he made a really good NFL receiver catch. Sat down there. They're up 24-17. That was like the moment you're like, oh, wow, we didn't stuff that up. And it was a good pass. And I was like, we're going to win this game because I had a buffer of 7. Kenny Pickett is starting to get it. No, he's not getting the big TDs yet. He's still 3 and 8, but he has 3 touchdowns on the ground. He also has, I think, over 100-something yards rushing, And I watched Josh Allen yesterday, and I know a lot of people get on Josh Allen train, but he's not known to fumble too. He fumbled a football yesterday. Like they're not perfect. They're only saying that because he's the status now. He's the elite quarterback like Mahomes or like Josh, but they all get to the same level, and then they can still be sacked. So Kenny Pickett is playing better. That's what I'm saying. Every game is getting better.
There's one thing that I noted, and it's very technical and it's very it's forecasting, so it's hard to take deep notice. But if you go into Pro Football Reference and you actually pull up a game, they've got a play-by-play, they've got that on a lot of different sites of Matt Ryan, pass incomplete, short, middle, intended for Jonathan Taylor, right? But what they put against it is actually an EBA and an EPA. And what that is expected points before the play and expected points after the play. And I'll give you an example of where this is important for the Steelers. So in the second quarter, Kenny Pickett scrambled up the middle for 9 yards. He was tackled by Julian Blackmon. This might be the quarterback draw you're talking about, right? Expected points on the drive before the play on average was a 3.7 points, right? But after the scramble, the chances of the expected points overall for that drive on average went up to 4.57. Now, I know that's really technical. That's more than a field goal. It's not quite a touchdown. But a point differential play-by-play, if you looked, for instance, through this game, is actually, remarkable. And the reason why I bring that up, even though it's so technical, is because if you sit there and you go through the play-by-play, it's not that, how much those, points and how many they won by and all the rest of it. It's more you see the difference he is actually making to the probability of the offense scoring points. And I haven't had the chance to go back and do it with Mitch Trubisky, but I remember when I looked quickly through the box scores, and it was he'd throw it 2 or 3 yards, and we'd go expected points would go after the attempt would go way down every time that a play was run. So I mean, this is the difference, and it's things like this that it's very hard to rack that up in a stat, but they do show the difference that's being made, right? And so I it's just even the Pickett made that pass to Freiermuth in the fourth. Give another example in the fourth quarter for 17 yards. That the difference there, expected points on the drive before the play was 3.27. expected points after the play was 6.5. So literally after he's made that 17. Now, yeah, I think that was a third and long potentially. But the reality of that play is that Kenny Pickett, by making that play, by using Freiermuth, by looking open, by throwing him into space, because there's a lot of passes when he throws to Freiermuth that basically are him basically putting him into space. You've literally gone from probably getting a field goal on that drive to getting a touchdown. Now, most people go, yeah, obviously he's got closer to the end zone. But the point is he's still making that pass and he's still getting them into the place to win it. And again, if you go through all these games and you go through each quarter through Pro Football Reference and you look at these plays, we talk about Ben last year. I like in this. We're talking about Ben last year being fourth quarter comebacks, getting the team to win, drawing up plays in the dirt. We heard the anecdote out of the game that Kenny picked that play himself, after the penalty or whatever it was. Kenny Pickett, there's a thing about Kenny Pickett in the second half here, and it wasn't like that from the Steelers overall against the Bengals because the defense went way off kilter and we stalled on offense. But if you actually look at all of Kenny Pickett's games so far, when he's been able to play the second half, his second half is really good.
Yeah, and I want to pick up too on the Kenny train too, because a lot of people are saying he still is a bust, and it's like, the stats aren't there. But you go to I love the way that he's so mobile in his run game too. So he's played, of course, 8 games. He's run the ball 35 attempts, right? And then that could be scrambling, that could be design run, which they've been putting into the offense. 195 yards, 5.6 yard average, and this is one of the big ones I just found out. 16 first downs. What does that tell you if it's 16 first downs? He's keeping the drive going, right?
He's one of the stats on War Room, when I look at the rookies, particularly Pickens, Warren, and Pickett, I always, and particularly when I look at the other teams' rookies, so for people that don't listen to War Room, in season, at least half to 3/4 of my show is looking at the rookies on the Steelers and what they've done in the previous week and overall for the season, and the rookies from the opposing team that you want to look out for, right? And particularly because I do so much in the draft, it makes a lot of sense. And then I start profiling draft players from about this point in the season, sometimes a little bit earlier if something catches my eye, or I talk about something around team building. And first downs, like I heard from Luke Kuechly a couple of years ago on a podcast where he said tackles for a loss for linebackers should be treated almost as much as sacks because they destroy drives, right? They put you from second and short, second and long to like really long on third down, or turn a second down into a third and long. And the same kind of thing with first downs on offense, right? It's less about did you get 4 or 14 yards. It's are you keeping the drive going? Because then you're keeping your defense off the field and you're keeping the ball out of the opponent's hands. So I just wanted to pick up on the first down.
But the thing is, like with Kenny and this Busman, this idea, it's just so dumb at the moment. He's still a rookie, but so out of the half the times that he ran the ball, he's got a first down. Now that could be a quarterback sneak, could be design run. I just think that needs to be in there. Like he's got 200 yards. Like he's like, and everyone talks about the new quarterback Wade, the Allen, the Mahomes, all those dudes, right? That's what they do. They run the ball too. So does Herbert. So I'm keen to see him develop his game and get TDs because that would shut so many people up. If he gets TDs, it'd be fine.
But that's also as a red zone offense. That there's a lot of gets better, and there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, I do want to pick up, and while I was talking earlier, Sean Manahan was talking about the stat around Ben throwing 25 times. We said it on last week. Jeffrey Benedict talked about this with Ben and Pickett both, how well they're doing when they throw less than 30 times. So yeah, you're pretty on the money there. But that's the Steelers as well. But it goes back to the point about being a balanced offense, right? And running the clock, and it's all about time and possession and first downs, right? So it's kind of, as I say, I'm hazard. I don't like saying what I'm about to say, but because people go, oh, he's just a game manager. But I do like the way Kenny is managing the game in the second half.
Right? And he's a rookie, though. It's his first year. What's he meant to do? Go out there and sling it five TDs and 5,000 yards?
Yeah, it's not Madden. Like, it's not Madden. It's not like...
It's not in the games you played, 98-0.
It's not Pro Bowl, like it's not. Like, come on. But with that's a good point for us to have hear a word from our sponsors on this week's Steelers Touch Down Under. We'll be back in just a few seconds. And we're back on Steelers Touch Down Under. Mark, you were saying something there before I cut you off with the
I was just going to say
it was
that
a bit like a chop block.
talking about that's illegal. Talking about the offense, time possession's gotten better. With the running game too. So 31 minutes average now, and the opposite has 29. So, and that's a whole season. That's a whole body of work, right? And look at the start of the season, we were so annoyed that the Matt Canada offense was with Trubisky and everyone else was 23 minutes a game. Like pretty much was the worst in the league. Now we're 31. So that's the whole. I don't know what that ranks. Well, I might be able to bring it up in the show. But it's the best thing I find. Being a bad team when we should be like power rankings, maybe 25, 26, 27. They're getting better. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting a bit hyped up because I feel like, and people say, well, it's two bad teams. It's versus it's the Saints, it's the Colts, it's the Falcons. But if you can beat them. And what better chance to go out and see what we have next year. And I think Sean said before in our live chat, he said, well, if we go 10-7 and you don't make the playoffs, it's still 10-7. And then next year have a good chance.
But that's what I said when we a few weeks back when we were talking about like the culture. I don't want the rot to set in of a losing culture. You start losing and you start tanking. Yeah. It's very hard to beat that. Like, look at the Browns. Look at what the Bengals were like for years. It's really like, it's a very hard thing to shake. So that's one thing that I think we've got to be really, really careful about. But going on the Falcons side of things, Mark, is there anything that, like, and you might give me a really one-word answer here, but is there anything that's kind of scares you about this Falcons team, or that is a concern, or that the Steelers team this really needs to address? Or do you think this is pretty much just go out and play your game?
Just 1 second before I get into the Falcons. Where do you think we're ranked in time possession in the whole of the NFL? This will blow your mind.
Haven't we moved from like 28th to like within the top 15 or something?
We are top 10. The Pittsburgh Steelers are top 10 in time of possession.
Does that
not tell you and a lot of the other?
How long is it now?
It's 30 minutes and 44 seconds time possession. We're ranked 8th.
Overall, right. But I mean, overall, like average drive. I'd like to know what average drive. Can you pull up that number?
But I can try and find that one. But the thing I'm trying to tell is, and the narrative I'm trying to paint is, if you're ranked 8th at this moment after the whole season, right? It shows that you're getting better. And Brian Brown says the Steelers aren't a bad team; they're just getting started, right? They're something is building here. And if you can go from 27 for almost the worst in the league at average time possession, which is you holding the football, now they need to convert points for sure. But this tells me that they're on the uptake than they are on the downtrend, right? Because they're just getting better and they're playing better football. You're ranked top 10 now with holding the football. The defense can rest. We've been talking about this for the first few weeks. So everyone who's jumping off the train right now is silly. You're gonna miss out on the fun times of Kenny Pickett. It may not look the greatest. It's not a Buffalo Bills team or Eagles team, but they're holding the possession. That's what I just want to say. And I didn't even know that stat. They're ranked 8th out of all 32 teams.
So I know we're now at like 248 per drive, according to Pro Football Reference, which is like a 35-second improvement on the start of the season. But I'm just trying to get an actual time of possession for one of those early games. But I remember when you and I were talking about a 2-minute, 15-second time of possession, which is just like practically 3 and out, really. So
I can't find that stat either. But overall, they're ranked 8th in the league, which is pretty good.
You can go and calculate it with Pro Football Reference, but it's like,
yeah.
Here you go. The first drive of the season went for 2 minutes and 13 seconds in the Bengals game. And then another drive. Another drive went for 2 minutes and 7 seconds in the second quarter. So
we've also got to account too that last week the Pittsburgh Steelers had the time possession, I think, was like 14. Was it like
it was 34? It was 34-25, I think.
Yeah, but even in the first quarter, the Colts didn't have any yards. They had minus yards, although there were 0 yards. So, can we play a full game? But I think overall they're developing quite well for a team going for a rebuilding season. Does that make sense? if they are rebuilding. I don't think they are, but retooling or whatever you want to call it. But anyways.
I want to bring this up from Alfred because it's something that I was actually, the thought briefly entered my head this week. Do you think Canada, if they make the playoffs, do you think Canada's back? I personally don't think you run it back with Canada, but
mate, this is the age-old discussion where, you know, I was probably the only one I've been right with so far is Chase Claypool because I can't stand him and I thought he was an awful player, right? And
I said that for a long time.
Yeah, and get rid of him. But this.
I remember the Juju one as well. I said how much we Steel fans would miss Juju.
That's big time. Well, big in this offense would be fantastic. But like what I'm saying is, we are so overreactionary as fans. In every podcast you have on this network, you have what 20 podcasts a day. You know what I mean? There's so many happening, right? But we're so overreactionary because if Canada goes and plays a bad game this week, we're going to say fire Canada again. And I'll put my hand up. I'm that guy that I've said that a million times. I didn't like the play. But what I don't like about him is he's so inconsistent. He has a really good first half. In the second half, he can't scheme and allow to change anything.
But is that experience? Is that, in fairness,
it could be. It could
and
be.
And it's also harder when you had a quarterback. I'm playing devil's advocate because I kind of am like, unless he makes the OC championship game, you're out. But like, playing devil's advocate, you didn't have Big Ben that can play your offense. You've also got Big Ben that, like, we had to have Randy Fiechner as the offensive coordinator can't say the word today. Placate Ben and what he wanted to do. Placate, yes. Or give in, or, you know, like, but the definition of the word, say placate in a sentence.
Can I have that in a sentence, please?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I just gave it to you in a sentence. No, but basically the point being is that, like, Canada had to placate Ben. Man, I'm struggling with that word today. But now he's got a chance to actually do something, but he is working with a rookie. He's working with different injuries. He's working with an offensive line that I'm not sure fully fits what he wants to do. I mean, he's working with, like, he was working with a set of receivers where he's got to get the ball to different people. I just don't know. I know that Freiermuth does. I know that Watt and Haywood, like Derek Watt and Haywood and Najee, kind of fit within what he wants to do. I'm not sure that Deontay fully fits within what Matt Canada wants to do that. And I think that's starting to become apparent.
I can summarize, in my opinion, now this is just my opinion, right? That what I think of this offense and why it frustrates me. Like I said today with the quarterback draw, I thought was fantastic. It outsmarted everyone. The offensive line opened up. Kenny got 8 yards for a 3rd and 2 chance, right? I love that play. However, how I find this offense, it's not consistent. Right, and I guess you're trying things here and there, but I still get frustrated at Matt Canada's ability to call plays and not make sense in the rhythm of the game. When you see a dump off pass to Gentry at the 50-yard line, to me it makes no sense. Where's he running to? Honestly, where is he running to in a screen or the shovel pass to Gentry? Are you just trying to get 4 yards for that play? What are you building up to? It might make sense at the goal line. But in saying that too, a lot of passing development plays where the guys have been running behind them in motion, they used, I think it was Steven Sims in motion I think I saw one play on Twitter, in motion, then he ended up getting the football on the outside. So I think maybe to play on Canada's side, he has dealt with a lot of press issues, even from NFL analysts or fans all around the world. And Ron is right. Ron says the flea flicker was ill-timed. These little things frustrate me after seeing, you know, a good play, you stumble and fall and go, what are you doing? Like the drive killers frustrate me. They should frustrate. But since the bye, this offense has been clicking and playing better. Now, here's the thing, is that Kenny Pickett, is that the players, is that the play execution? Is there a chance if we do go on a bit of a run that this will smoke screen this offense and it is the players? But it all goes entanglement, doesn't it? Right? The play doesn't work. We yell at the coach. If the player drops the ball, like George Pickens, we yell at George Pickens. We consistently yell at them all the time because that's just the nature of the beast, honestly, and you know the way it is.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I just don't think I don't understand how Kenny Pickett's going to grow in this offense. And I know that sounds really weird from everything we've said earlier, and it sounds contradictory. But if I look at what we want out of Kenny for 3 or 4 years' time, when he's still on the rookie deal, we put money around and put players around him. Salary cap's working. Guys like Pickens has developed. Najee's coming to the end of his deal, but other guys are developing. And you want to be making Super Bowl runs, or particularly because of the way that the contracts are set up, and Minka and TJ are getting into the later years of their deals. I can't imagine Kenny sitting with Canada for 2 or 3 years and being in that position to win us the Super Bowl. I just don't think Canada is the offensive mind to deliver that.
Here's the thing, because Canada's contract's going out, I think, end of 2023, so they're one more season, right? What do you think happens after 2023 if they keep him on next year? Do they go and re-sign Canada again? Because that would be this year plus next year.
If you're not going to get rid of him this year, then you're committing to him for a couple more years yet.
Right. Same with Tomlin too. I'm intrigued to see what happens after 2024. These next few years, what will the organization do with Tomlin? His contract coming up at the end of 2024.
Yeah, I know, and it's interesting. Tomlin will be there longer. But like Sean Manahan says, Canada calling plays against Madden. He's not though. That's the thing. And Madden, you can call how often do they call an audible? Right? If you're playing Madden and you're not calling audibles, like you're kidding. Mark knows that. How much I call it.
I just
how much did you hate? Remember one of the games we played, and I set up.
Oh, I thought it was you. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Remember I set up. I want to play again. We should play again this weekend, man.
But, play now if you want.
Yeah. That's it. But remember when I was hitting that play and you were like, man, I hate that play. And then I set up in a different thing and then I switched to an audible back to the same play.
Well, that's all that Madden pretty much is. I remember the old days like Peyton Manning would take, it was designed into the game for Peyton Manning to do the audible and stuff like that, all the time. But look, I was
just going to say, going back to Canada, sorry, one thing I want to, and Michael, I'm only fine. Yeah, I get it. Don't see us winning Super Bowl. I don't see us winning Super Bowl with the current coaching setup. I would say that, and coordinator setup. But that's what I was about to say I feel Kenny needs a Ken Wisenhunt type, a Steve Sarkisian type, I'm just saying it because I'm a Longhorns fan. He needs an offensive coordinator that starts with the quarterback and structures the offense around it. And we need an offensive line coach closer to what, I'm not saying it has to be Munchak, but Munchak was, that calls the running game so that the offense can be driven out of the quarterback. That is what's going to help Kenny Pickett. An offense driven by the scheme is not going to help Kenny Pickett. That's my problem. Because if you wanted to do that, you'd go and find a guy like a Jalen Warren. You would have gone after a Malik Willis. So that's the problem that I think that exists, is that offensively, I actually think, even though we're doing enough to start winning some games, I think ultimately there's an identity crisis between what Canada wants to run as a scheme and what Kenny Pickett is capable of doing, or what we'd like to see him grow into doing. It's
just a funny thing, because I had called for Matt Canada's head so many times. Now I wanted to win, but if they win, they're probably going to keep him. So I'm like, I don't know, but that, prove me wrong. I don't really care. I just want to see him win, to be honest.
But the thing is that it's also really hard, because this team, even putting aside the good defense, this team is coached in a way that, or the full overall philosophy of the Steelers means that even with poor offense, like we saw out of Fichtner in Canada, the Steelers are still in the mix. The Steelers right now, they're 4-7, but they could easily be, if they're a worse team in this league right now, or they didn't have the philosophy and culture that they have, they would be 1-10, or 0-11, right? That's the other thing.
Jeez.
People got to think about that. And also, it was brought up in the live chat before, the strength of schedule at the start of the year. It was,
I think we're gonna ban Ron for spamming. Nah, I'm joking, Ron.
Ron, Omaha, Arians, Munchak S, McFarlane is a beast. If the run game is respectable, Kenny will flourish. Yeah, 100%.
I agree.
Agree. All that. Great takes. Ron Shaw. He also said, "Love Coach T, but his shtick is getting stale."
There we go. We got a whole. If you're on the YouTube side, or you have to be on the Facebook side. Actually, it's a whole feature of Ron. There we go.
That's it. But But yeah, I mean, it is interesting. But going back to the Falcons, like Kyle Pitts ruled out for the season.
Yeah, that was a big one too, actually. I couldn't believe that.
I like one thing that is a little bit of a concern for me is the overall, when I looked at this in War Room, like they've got guys like Caleb Huntley and Tyler Algier who both have about almost 900 yards between them. Corradell Patterson, who was arrested, has 506 yards. Mariota has 421 yards. So they've got over 2,000 yards rushing on the season, and they've got four guys that have kind of contributed almost 20 to 25% of that each. And so that's something, there's a bit of versatility in their offense. The thing for me with the Steelers is they need some defensive stops and turnovers early so that they can turn up. I always talk about turning up or tightening the screws of pressure. They do that early against this Falcons team. I think this Falcons team, I wouldn't say they'll fold, but the game will get a lot simpler and a lot easier for the Steelers.
Claude's got a good point here in the live chat. Claude says patience is the key. Steelers are the youngest offense in the league, which they do. They have a star receiver. Star receiver in Pickens, Najee, quarterback Pickett, tight end Pat Fromov, all drafted in the last 2 years. And when we're expecting them to go out and score 45 points a game, that's exactly right. That's a good take. So they're doing enough to win in the run game at the moment, or last week, and the defense needs to help them out. But do you think Mariota can win this game? Like, do you see touchdowns on Mariota to beat us in this game? I don't really see it that much, to be honest.
Yeah, before I answer that, I want to pick up on the point from Claude Bishop. And the thing, this goes back to team building. If you are trusting your defense to win your games, which is what Steelers wanted to do, the Steelers aren't counting on TJ Watt to miss, 5 and 6 games every season. The Steelers, and we talked about this last week, and I love that you've been giving credit to me on your other podcasts outside of BTSC on this. I think we sold ourselves short on not having a top corner, and you've got to fix that next year, or through the draft, so the guy develops, or through free agency. But the problem, the thing you can do is you can invest in your defense when you've got young rookies on offense, but you've got to be able to this young. It's kind of it goes back and forth each way, because the young offense has got to try and find ways to keep the defense off the field as much as they can. The defense has got to make plays run on the field. I think we've had some serious defensive lapses at times. I don't think the secondary was good enough from the start. Said that. So I go back to what Claude said. Yeah, patience is key, because in the next 1 or 2 years, and it's probably not next season, it's the season after, you get those couple of bits on the offensive line, you get a couple of those good guys in the secondary. I mean, this team, look at what Highsmith's doing. This team could totally take off. Going to Mariota. The thing about Mariota is I feel like played off
he's still there.
62% completion rate, 2,000 yards. What's that?
You still there? You sound like a robot. I think you're there. Yep, you're back. Or maybe it was me. My bad. Radio silence.
No, it was me. It was me. My internet just shut out. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you sound like you're from the year 2089. Alrighty. Maybe is it time for the quarterback 2 to take over? Quarterback 1, Matty, might be out. I can't hear you. All right, let's kick you out for a minute. So from the audio guys, I do apologize, but what do? It's technical issues. I think Matty's still halfway there, but he's not there. Are you frozen, Matty? Yeah, all right. All right, it's the Mark Show. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to BTSC. So Matty's having a bit of trouble. He's been frozen. To end the show, guys, thank you for listening to Steelers Touchdown Under. But I will take some questions in the live chat. Thank you, Kathy. We're here. We're ready to go. See, now I haven't got my notes ready. I'm not planned. Like, this is like me being Mason Rudolph on the bench. Wouldn't be ready for the game. Matty's going to check out. I'll try and finish the show, and I'll talk to Matty later on. But yeah, guys, to in a big nutshell, I'm pretty keen for this game, and this is the time where we cannot give up. You can't give up on this team. The team's getting better. Need to rally behind Kenny, and like Claude said in the live chat. Let me bring up again. So Claude said, patience is key. The Steelers have a young offense. Pickens, Najee, Pickett. We end up getting rid of Claypool. Was not a big fan of Claypool. I couldn't stand the way he played, so I'm glad that he's gone. We have Steven Sims in there. They started to use Oshesky more and more. So we have to have patience with the offense, right? And let me see if Matty's coming back to end the show. You there, mate?
Yeah, StreamYard. Every other tells me that StreamYard is like dying every time I try and refresh the window. So hopefully you guys can hear me. But basically what I was saying was that like Mariota, 14 TDs, 8 interceptions, 62% completion rate. Like I think, they're 5-7. He's not like incredible game changer. I think I think like really closing out the show, I think the Steelers, it comes down to, can they get it right? Can they do enough on offense? Can they do enough on defense? And it's simple to say, but it's like they just have to make plays, man. They have to make.
I was like so close to doing my final thoughts and just saying see you later. I freeze. I like, what am I meant to do? I wasn't.
I don't know. It's StreamYard, man. Like all my signals are showing strong, and StreamYard keeps telling me I've got a low signal. So
maybe Marcus Mariota hacked the chat.
Yeah, he's about to bash me, but. I can see our live listeners right now in the window that you and I have, and your listeners went up when I went off. So maybe that tells you everything you need to know. Maybe they just want to be the Mark show.
Like it was dead set. Like you sounded like from the future, like what robot voice. I was like,
that's what you sound like for me too. But yeah, it's StreamYard. It keeps giving me a warning that StreamYard's like not responding. So,
well. All right, how do you want to end the show? Do you want to do our, I don't know, record prediction or?
Yeah, do a prediction.
You know what? I think I said somewhere else. I think 24, Steelers 24. Who are they? The Falcons. Falcons 17, 24-17. Did we win that? Wait, no, that was the same score last week, wasn't it? Was it? No. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that would do.
24-17 was last week's score. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do the exact same. The exact same.
I'm gonna go 30-17.
30. Let's go 30 points. Jeez. I guess that only 6 more than me. Will Kenny Pickett, throw for 2 touchdowns this game or 1 at least?
He'll throw 2+.
Yeah, 2+. Okay. Kathy says here we got 30. Like that. Brian Brown says 35-13. I get a feeling that
but think about it. It's only 3 field goals and 3 touchdowns. And if they get a defensive touchdown, which I think I always talk about that, but I do, and you and I have talked about the fact that they need a defensive touchdown to get 30 points. But I genuinely do believe that they're going to get a couple of turnovers in this game, and that's going to allow them to just get a few extra points. And I think they're going to hit things that they've dropped. How many? Like Deontay dropped one in the end zone last week. You dropped that, it's 30 points. There was a couple the week before. Like this team's not that far off doing it. And I do think Mariota. I said this last week with Ryan. I felt like pick 6 was coming. I feel like this team is.
I don't see that Falcons can score more than 20.
But 17's not a lot of 17's only 3 drives where you get two touchdowns and one field goal. Like it's not unreasonable. 17 points.
Last week with the teams too, and even Brian says, do you think teams can tighten up? They better tighten up. But they allowed a touchdown for the teams. There's only one good drive that came, that happened for the Colts. So I just can't see Marcus Mariota and the Falcons actually, beating our defense. Let's put it that way. They're playing much better. Briscoe going 17-10. Claude's got 10-7. Steel Girls got what a game. Steel Girls got 27.
Do you know I was mucking with the sliders on the 10-7. I was mucking with the sliders on Madden the other day on the hardest mode. And I was halfway through the divisional round against the Titans, and it was 5-3 to me because I'd have a safety and a field goal. I was mucking around the sliders and trying to make it ridiculously difficult to make a play. It was like 5-3 going into the second half. It's like it's bloody World Cup soccer.
Alan's got a different take here from the live chat. Says Steelers have a lot of injuries on defense. They lose this game. That's fair enough. They can lose. They can lose.
I like Highsmith though. Like even if TJ's out,
he's getting up there. Other than that, I think I've got nothing, Matty. I think I'm all out for ideas. I was really stoked.
Just like Canada and Mitch Trubisky in the first half of the season.
You put me on the show when I get more nervous by myself. I just don't know what to say anymore. I just, I want to feed.
Listeners love it. But I just want to say this will go out on Sunday morning. So we hope you enjoy the game. Hopefully, TJ Watt and Warren are fit. Get there, celebrate. As we always say, to celebrate the highs and truly feel the highs, you've got to go with the lows. I think this week's going to be a high for the Steelers. And as always, Mark,
go Steelers.